What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back at it with another Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger video. This one is from a dear YouTube channel that I do love watching a lot of the time. I could be in bed watching her for hours, and this is Annie Elise 10 to Life. Her podcast, Serial, what is it called? Seriously. It's definitely very good. I love watching her stuff, and we're going to be watching her newest video on Chris Watts' deep dive, blaming the mistress, the dark secrets, his double life, and Nichol Kessinger, and she does a great job. So I'm definitely wanting to watch this. We're going to be doing this into a two-part series because it is 2 hours long, and I can only do an hour right now, but we're gonna be watching it together. So before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor, I know she doesn't need help from me, but definitely go over to her channel, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. You know the deal. And then on my channel, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. Again, thank you guys all so much, very much for the love and support that you guys have been showing on my channel. We're creeping up on the numbers, but I need your guys' help to hit that 100K. So make sure you guys do so. And with that being said, let's get into the video. Oh, no audio.
Marriage is about love, trust, and friendship and unity. We marry for sickness and health, to death do us part.
Amen.
Our daughter Shannon loved you with all of her heart. Your children loved you to the moon and back. Shannon's family was her world. Shannon put a crown on your head. But unfortunately, the day that you took their life, God removed that crown. Ooh. We loved you like a son. We trusted you. Your faithful wife trusted you. Your children adored you. And they also trusted you.
They say that NK is in here, but I keep watching it, and I'm trying to find where she's at.
Daddy is a hero.
This kills me every time.
Hey True Crime Besties, welcome back to an all-new episode of Seriously.
Love it.
An all-new
She's got a little
episode
white
of
box
Seriously
right there.
with me, Annie Elise. All right, guys.
She looks like she's an officer ready to arrest somebody.
This is the episode you have been waiting for, the one that so many of you have been requesting for such a long time, which honestly really surprised me. I never expected in a million years to not only do this episode, but that people would still want to even know about this case. But
oh yeah,
here we are.
This is like in the top 5 cases that have gone, like viral. Like everybody from overseas is wanting justice and so forth, and yet they still they don't want to do anything. They said it's not a witch hunt. It's not a who done this. If they would just do it properly, I guarantee it would go silent.
And it is the deep dive into Chris Watts. Now, if you have been listening to my podcast or following my YouTube channel for a while now, then you know I have definitely done deep dives into his mistress, Nichol Kessinger. Mm-hmm. However, I have never done a Chris Watts deep dive. I've done some little update videos here and there since he's been incarcerated, things where he has called out Nichol as being a Jezebel and relationships that he allegedly has had while he's been in prison. But I've never done a deep dive of the case start to finish. So in my last episode, when it was just one of those more, topical updates, I asked you guys, would you even be interested in the deep dive?
Yes,
and
please.
So many of you, to my surprise, said yes. So here we are. And I love to do my thorough deep dives where I go in like the depths of hell on the internet, extract every single detail I can possibly find, and deliver it to you guys. So today's deep dive, we're not just talking about Chris Watts, about the murders, about what happened. Everything. We're going to go over everything. We're going to go over the backstory, Shanann's previous marriage, the fallout, the affair, Nichol's alleged, wink, wink, involvement, everything wink, wink. In regards to this case.
We have to say that.
Buckle up. You are going to be with me for a while. And right when you think that it's going to be wrapped up and, we're going to put a bow on it and be done, I'm going to throw some more information at you because I have been researching this case for literal years, going through the discovery, going through the...
I have now been doing this, well, the 19th of October is when I started doing these videos. So I still have a little bit of time before I've done this for a year now, but this woman's been around the bend when it comes to this case.
Interrogations, the polygraph, all of it. So we have got a lot to go over, guys. So let's just jump right into all of it. Around 2 a.m. on August 13th, 2018, Shanann Watts got home from a business trip. She was working in direct sales for a company called Thrive, and her friend Nicole Atkinson also worked for that company and had been on that trip with her. So after a long day of traveling, Nicole drove both of them home from the airport. She dropped Shanann off at her home in Frederick, Colorado. She made sure that she got inside safely, and then she drove home. Little did Nicole know that she would essentially be the last person to ever see Shanann alive. Because just 2 days later, on August 15th at 11 p.m.
Well, technically, Chris is the one that saw her last before she died, but...
Shanann's body was found in a shallow grave near an oil drilling site. It was about 40 miles...
Is it wrong to say that I've had nightmares about her death? Like, I felt like I was there when it was happening, and just... It's like I'm, like, astral projecting, and I'm over top of the oil field, and I'm seeing what Chris is doing, and I don't know if it's my mind just is racing about this case or what have you, but it's pretty much what I go through occasionally about this case.
Miles away from her home. The bodies of her daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Cece, were also found a day later. They were found inside crude oil tanks about 200 yards away from Shanann's body. Shanann was in a purple t-shirt and underwear.
And the reason why she, again, I do apologize for stopping in between, but you guys have said you don't want me speaking during when somebody else is speaking. But the reason why Chris has said that he separated Shanann from the girls is because, one, he Googled how long does it take to, what's it called? Dissolve, not dissolve, but I can't remember the word that he wrote in there, but how to pretty much disappear in oil. It takes a while, but he also was mad at Shanann. He had so much anger from her that he wanted to separate the girls from her. Are we going to believe that? No. But again, what can we believe this man says?
She had a plastic bag on her head and another wrapped around her feet. She had abrasions on her neck and also to the left side of her face. An autopsy revealed that she had been strangled to death. Cece was found in a pink and black shirt and wearing a diaper. She didn't have any visible injuries, and it was determined that she had been smothered to death. Now, Bella had also been smothered. She was wearing bright pink pajamas, but unlike Cece, Bella had many injuries. There was blunt force trauma to her jaw, lacerations in her mouth, and she also had bite marks on the surface of her tongue.
She fought.
So all of these injuries made the medical examiner come to the conclusion that Bella was fighting for her life in her final moments. But it's not like investigators just happened to find these bodies by chance. There wasn't a long drawn-out search that led them to this oil drilling site. The killer actually told them exactly where to look. He had already been identified. And the killer was none other than Shanann's husband and Bella and Cece's father, Chris Watts. And look, I know that most of you are familiar with this case because in 2018, you couldn't avoid it. It was all over the news.
It was everywhere.
And since then, it seems like...
I remember watching it on TV with my fiance that I still have to this day. And I remember watching the interviews that Chris gave, and I wasn't doing YouTube at that time. I think I was getting ready to start doing YouTube in 2018. And I remember stating that the interviews that I saw, I was like, this man has done it. This man. But then at the same time, I was like, when I knew about the Mistress, you didn't know much about the Mistress at this time. You just knew there was another woman. I didn't think anything of it at the moment, but I sure dang straight knew that Chris Watts murdered his kids. I just had a feeling. And then now that I'm looking into this case, almost a year into it now, that I've been looking into it, I have this feeling that Nichol Kessinger was involved in some shape or form, and that's why I do this, because I know if they just look at her for a little bit, they'll uncover something. I just know it. I feel it in my bones.
Chris Watts has really been inserting himself into the media cycle every few months. People are constantly coming up with new theories, new questions, just really trying to understand why Chris did what he did. Especially because from the outside, Chris and Shanann always had seemed like they were in this great, happy marriage. They met back in 2010 because they had a mutual friend in common. That friend went to Shanann and told her about Chris and how, he was such a great guy. She had to meet him. She had to check it out. And before they ever even met in person, Chris sent Shanann a friend request on Facebook. But Shanann actually declined Chris's first Facebook request. You see, she was still dealing with the aftermath of a very bitter divorce. Shanann had gotten married right after high school to a man named Leonard King. They had gone to school together. Shanann was dead set on getting married right away and doing, the wife and family thing as fast as she possibly could. However, her friends were worried. They thought that Shanann was just way too young. But she was insistent. This is what she wanted. After Leonard and Shanann got married, Shanann did go to college for a little while, but she eventually dropped out so that she could work. You see, Leonard was going to law school, and they had to pay for it somehow. So Shanann did what she could do to help. But it didn't take long for things to go south after that, and they ended up getting divorced in 2007. So Shanann basically had to start all over again. Financially, she definitely wasn't in a good place. However, being the extremely hardworking person that she was, she did hold down a couple of different jobs until she could afford to buy her very first home at just 25 years old. So she did have her feet underneath her, definitely.
She was a very ambitious woman, but yet there are people that sit there and dog her down. Oh, that she did this wrong, she did that wrong. It's like, you're blaming a deceased victim. How does that make you feel? That you're blaming a person that has been removed from this world viciously, and then you're blaming that woman.
It's not like she was completely and totally devastated by this divorce. But still, by the time that Chris was sending her that friend request over on Facebook, she was a little bit hesitant to reply right away. She had done so well for herself by this point, by herself, after hitting, her version of rock bottom. So she didn't want to put herself out there again just to be hurt again. However, eventually, on top of that friend request that Chris had sent her, he followed up with a message in July of 2010. And this time, Shanann actually replied. They clicked right away. Both of them had been born in the mid-'80s, and they both had spent their childhoods in North Carolina, so they had a lot to bond over. However, they weren't exactly the same, by any means, because in high school, Shanann had been more of a theater kid and the very responsible one. She was kind of like the mom of the friend group, if you will. Meanwhile, Chris had been very shy, very into sports, but more reserved. And once the two of them started dating, Shanann was definitely the more dominant of the two of them. She worked hard, she was very serious, she was a go-getter. She really could accomplish almost anything that she put her mind to. Chris, however, he was more reserved. But Shanann looked at him as a very trustworthy guy, somebody that she could always count on. So after dating for a couple of years, in 2012, Chris and Shanann decided that they wanted to move to Colorado. Now, by this point, they were actually engaged, and they were planning to have their wedding in North Carolina, where most of their family lived, but they were planning to make this move to Colorado. So Chris ended up moving to Colorado by himself before the wedding to, settle into his new job, into the new life ahead of their wedding. And then on November 3rd, 2012, Chris and Shanann got married in Charlotte, North Carolina. After the wedding, Shanann joined Chris in Colorado. And then a year later, on December 17th, 2013, they had their first child together, a little girl named Bella Watts. Now, I want to backtrack just a little bit here because Shanann had been absolutely overjoyed, ecstatic when she found out that she was pregnant. She had been struggling with health problems pretty much her entire life. In her mid-20s, Shanann had started losing a lot of her hair, and she felt terrible almost all of the time. Eventually, she was diagnosed with lupus and with fibromyalgia. So she was told that—
And then people have stated that that is made up, that is fake. Where do you find this information? Like, what? Like, they're looking at Shanann when they should be looking at Chris. They're like, oh, we're trying to justify what Chris did to Shanann because Shanann was so crazy. Where do you see this? Yeah, okay, there's things that you can't see behind closed doors. But again, they make her out to be this, like, woman that is all about herself and so forth like that, and all she cared about was money. Well, first of all, she had a family to provide for. She also had her dreams of becoming a big name when it comes to Thrive and Lavelle. Like myself, I'm striving to be better at YouTube. I'm trying to get to 100K. She did the 200K. She wanted to make people's lives better. And it's like, I just don't understand it anymore, where it's almost to the point that the good people are getting screwed and thrown away like yesterday's trash. And the bad people just keep on climbing to the top of the ranks. That's what's scary.
That it was very unlikely that she would ever become pregnant. So this was an absolute miracle. She was over the moon. It was just a complete shock when she found out that she was expecting. However, she was told that this pregnancy was high risk. She had to take it easy. So because of that, she stopped working. And Chris ended up working as a mechanic at a local car dealership. Now, in a complete shocker to her, Chris, and family, friends, even doctors, Shanann found out that she was pregnant again in late 2014. Now again, this pregnancy, it was definitely high risk and it was very difficult on her. But on July 17th, 2015, Shanann gave birth to another little girl, Cece Watts. Now, while Chris and Shanann were definitely excited about this new addition to their family, it was also a very stressful time for the two of them. Because just a month earlier, prior to Cece's birth in June of 2015, the family had filed for bankruptcy. Together, Shanann and Chris had a combined income of about $90,000 per year, but they were living way beyond their means. They had bought this big, beautiful home that was valued at around $400,000 at the time. They also had mounting credit card debt and student loan debt, and unfortunately, both of their daughters also had medical issues. So you add doctor bills and hospital bills on top of everything else, and they were in a very stressful financial situation. In the bankruptcy filing, they said that their $3,000 mortgage payment and their $600 car payment took up most of their cash. They had a hard time paying for those things, let alone groceries, supplies, and everything else. Their HOA had even sued them for not paying their HOA fees. Now, by this point, Chris had a new job.
I think HOA, like home, what do they call it? It's homeowners association or something like that. I think it's such a, I think it's so dumb that they have HOAs.
He was working as an oil field technician for Anadarko Petroleum. He had loved being a mechanic. However, he also had a really bad case of carpal tunnel syndrome, which is, when your hand stiffens up, where it's hard to do things. It's hard to have motor skills with your hand.
I was a diesel mechanic for almost 5 years in the military, and turning your hands like this all the time and doing stuff when it comes to wrenches and ratchets, and oh man, it kills your hands.
And so it made it almost impossible for him to do the job of a mechanic, which is why he became an oil field technician. And in the meantime, Shanann was working at the Children's Hospital in Colorado at a call center job. However, she wasn't making much money in that position. So it felt like the two of them, they just could not catch a break. Eventually, though,
I worked at Spectrum for less than a year. Worst job I probably have ever had.
Shanann switched to doing direct sales for a multi-level marketing company called Lavelle, or Thrive. They sold healthcare supplements. Shanann started out part-time, but eventually she made it her full-time job. And she decided that the best way to really grow her business and grow her network and her sales database was to leverage social media. So she used her Facebook page to market the products and to just post a lot about her personal life. She talked a lot about her marriage, her kids, and she went live on Facebook pretty consistently. Now, obviously, when she was marketing these things, she wasn't talking about her financial problems, of course not. No. Instead, in her posts, she was marketing her life as, the dream life, selling the all-American dream, this love story, amazing supplements, amazing career, and just hoping that people who were viewing this and seeing it from the outside would really aspire to have that life too. And in turn those aspirations into potential sales, make them become customers. And Shanann and Chris seemed to have their life together. They really came across like the perfect couple. And it wasn't just social media. I mean, a lot of their friends and family members also thought that they just seemed super happy, super, perfect.
They didn't yell, they didn't scream, they didn't hurt each other and stuff like that. That's what the neighbors had said.
Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandy, thought that Chris was great for Shanann. He was patient with her, he understood her medical conditions, he took care of her. In fact, on May 5th, 2018, Shanann posted a video to Facebook just about how good everything was.
Hey everybody, say hi. Say hi. You don't want to say hi? So I just wanted to come on here live. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. So Saturday's here. I don't even know what time it is. It's 8:30 here in Colorado. And I love waking up now on Saturdays and being able to enjoy my family. We never have to... Careful, Cece. We never have to really, we never have it determined where we're going. No plans, really. Summer's coming, and we're super excited. Bella, come here for a second, baby. We're really excited for summer because so much goes on in the summer here in Colorado. There's concerts every weekend, Friday, Saturday nights. There's always some kind of concert going on. And get together with friends, cookouts, and just enjoying life. And I'm really excited this summer because some of the amazing things that go on the weekends were when I was working for a company where I had to be in every weekends because that's the demand. The demands were always the weekends, so I needed more help. So I feel really blessed this summer. I'm going to San Diego with Chris. We're going June 22nd through the 26th. No, the 26th we come home at 1:30 in the morning. And then the 26th, that afternoon at 5:30 at night, Bella, Cece, and I and my dad are flying back to North Carolina for 6 weeks. 6 weeks we're going to be in North Carolina, Cece, right? And we're going to go spend time with our families and friends and everything else. And
again, she says nothing bad about her family. She says nothing bad about Chris. She says, like, she's doing what a wife would normally do, like be happy about her family, talk about her husband, how much she enjoys her life, and so like, and then people still bring her down, and she's the one that's gone.
Then we're gonna come back August 7th, and then I fly to Scottsdale, Arizona on the 11th for a mini little retreat with my team, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Then, just a few weeks after that, Shanann shared a big announcement.
Guess what, girls? Mommy has a baby in her belly. Are you guys excited? Yes? Are you really excited? Oh my goodness. Come give me hugs. Oh. I love you, girls.
I got the baby a hug.
You want to give the baby a hug? I love you, Bella.
She would have made
a couple of days
big
later,
sister.
Shanann posted a video of Bella.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He helped me snuggle too. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. If you're a hero, blue and blue, my daddy love you.
And this just goes to show how constant Shanann was active on social
Again, there are so many guys out there that would kill to have a family like this.
media. She shared every aspect of her life in real time as these moments were unfolding. And a few days after she posted that video of little Bella, she also posted a very loving tribute to Chris for Father's Day. It read, "Chris, we are so incredibly blessed to have you. You do so much every day for us, and you take such great care of us. You are the reason that I was brave enough to agree to number 3. Laundry to kids' showers, you are incredible, and we are so lucky to have you in our life. Happy Father's Day." So we have this woman who is praising her husband, essentially, right? She's talking about how great he is, also how excited she is to be able to spend time with him and their children that summer. So how do you go from that to then finding 3 bodies in an oil field? And also Chris confessing to annihilating his entire family. How could a seemingly happy marriage deteriorate so quickly? Well, starting in June, Chris began growing very distant from Shanann. He was quiet, cold, and he was uninterested in her or the girls. Text messages from the beginning of July show the start of some issues in their relationship. Now, by this point, Shanann was spending the 6 weeks visiting family in North Carolina, and the girl.
I'm so glad that she did go and spend time with her family. But again, I think that her going to North Carolina also did not help contribute, or I think help contribute to Chris being able to have access to go to Nichol and be able to sleep there religiously, do things religiously. And again, I'm not blaming Shanann. She needed time away from Chris and have time with the grandbabies, with the grandparents and stuff like that. But I think that it helped Shanann, but it also helped, or it didn't help with Shanann and Chris. So
girls were also there with her. Meanwhile, Chris had stayed back home. He had to work, but he had plans to meet up with them towards the end of their trip. So on July 10th, Shanann texted Chris asking him if he was okay because he hadn't said much during a previous phone call that they had. She said that she wished that her husband would just actually talk to her. But Chris insisted he was fine. He was just really stressed at work. But then after that, Chris just straight up stopped answering Shanann's calls, and he was barely responding to any of her text messages. Shanann was also having issues with Chris's family at the time while she was staying in North Carolina, so that wasn't making anything any easier on her. Now, these issues with the parents, they definitely weren't new. There had been tension there for quite a while. See, years before Shanann and Chris even got married, Chris's mom, Cindy, straight up told Shanann that she didn't think that Shanann loved Chris, that she actually loved him. There was apparently such turmoil, too, in those relationships that a bunch of relatives didn't even go to their wedding. Which, that all sounds pretty bad, yes, but it was nothing compared to what actually went down during this visit with his parents in North Carolina. See, Cece, their young daughter, she had a severe peanut allergy. Even a little bit of a peanut could cause this severe allergic reaction. However, for whatever reason, Chris's parents were just not taking that seriously, apparently. They gave the two girls ice cream that had pieces of peanuts inside of it, and Shanann immediately went into, protective mother mode and got very, very angry. Like, what are you doing? You know that she has an allergy. Like, why on earth would you give this to her? So Shanann got into a huge fight with Chris's parents, and they didn't see each other for the rest of the trip. His parents didn't even go to a party that Shanann had held for Cece's birthday. So Shanann told Chris what had happened. She was expressing her anger, but he acted like he didn't even care that his daughter had almost gotten seriously sick or could have even died. So she sent him a follow-up text message which read, "These kids are my world and I have to protect them from the evil of the world. I shouldn't have to protect them from evil family. Our kids deserve the same love and attention that other kids get, nothing less." Then on July 4th, Shanann sent Chris another text message. This one read, "I realized during this trip what's missing in our relationship. It's only one-way emotions and feelings. I can't come back like this. I need you to meet me halfway. You don't consider these at all, nor think about feelings. I try to give you space, but while you are working and living this bachelor life, I'm carrying our third child and fighting with 2 kids daily, and trying to work and make money. It's not hard to text, I love you.
You think his life was stressed? Her life was stressed.
And I miss you. If you don't mean it, then I get it, but we need to talk. I kept looking at my phone all night and no response from you. Seriously. We didn't just start dating yesterday. We've been together 8 years and we have 2.5 kids together." So by this point, there was definitely a fracture in their relationship. Whether it was surface level, it was certainly emotional at this point. And Shanann wasn't just sending these angry text messages to Chris. She was also telling her friends all about Chris's strange behavior. How, out of seemingly nowhere, he just apparently completely stopped caring about her and their 2 daughters. But during all of this, he did make some effort to seem caring or committed, because on July 31st, Chris flew out to North Carolina to spend that last week of the vacation with his family as originally planned. But things were weird, and everybody could tell. All of Shanann's family noticed how distant Chris was acting, and it was super out of character for him. Chris had always been so loving, so attentive, but now he was barely paying any attention to his wife.
It comes down to another woman.
And his daughters. So Shanann texted her friends about it. She said, "He's kissed me once since he's been here. And that was at the airport. I kissed him. No grabbing my ass, no hug, no nothing. I just wanted to cry. He said nothing's wrong. 5 weeks away from me and not touching me.
That's where I don't believe that they had intimacy that night or that morning. Because if he's not going to touch her for this whole time, why would he go out of his way to do it? And so forth like that. That's why I don't believe they had the booty that night.
Kids are in bed. I took a night shower, which means I want to have sex, and he knows it. And he's over here doing a fucking push-up challenge instead of discussing anything or fucking me. I'm over here crying in silence. He's never been like this. 5.5 fucking weeks and no sex. Unless he was getting it somewhere else. So at the beginning of August, the Watts family flew back home to Colorado. But if Shanann was hoping that things would just, go back to normal once they were home and they would get back in the swing of things and their usual routine, she was definitely wrong. Because out of nowhere on August 6th, Chris apparently told Shanann that he wasn't even excited about having a third child. And we know this because the very next morning, Shanann sent...
I can tell you when I had my kid, my son, I was ecstatic. I was so excited to be a father. So...
another text message to a friend. It read, Chris told me last night that he is scared to death about this third baby, and that he's happy with just Bella and Celeste, and that he doesn't want another baby.
And again, Chris Watts wanted the third baby originally.
Now 2 days later, on August 9th, the two of them had an ultrasound appointment. Chris went with Shanann, but again, he was very distant and he just seemed very uninterested during the entire appointment.
Of course
even when the two of them learned the sex of the baby. They were having a little boy. A milestone that should be so exciting and so thrilling in a relationship. So again, Shanann texted her friend. She said, I said you sat here in this living room and you said you think it would be a great thing to have a baby. We talked it out a lot beforehand and we agreed to this. You were so excited and happy. I grabbed his hand during the ultrasound and he didn't grab it back. The only thing I can think of, even though I don't think he has it in him, is another girl. Later that day, Shanann told her friends that she and Chris had a very long conversation later that day and that things did seem to be better. She said he seemed happier about the baby once he did find out that it was a boy, and that they even had picked out a name together, Nico. According to Shanann, it was the best conversation that the two of them had had in a really long time, and Chris was now finally acting like Chris again. She said he even kissed her before going to bed that night, something that he hadn't done in weeks. But then, Shanann left for her business trip with her friend Nichol. And once they were physically apart from one another once again, things went right back downhill like they had before with Chris. But now he was telling Shanann that he didn't think that this relationship was going to work. He wanted to separate. On August 11th, while Shanann was still out of town, Chris ended up going to a Rockies baseball game with some of his friends, while his two daughters stayed back home with a babysitter. He told Shanann that they went out for salmon and to grab a beer after the game.
Lie.
But then Shanann had noticed that he spent over $60 at this restaurant that he went to, which was a lot of money for a single meal. So she pulled a typical sleuthy girl move, which, honestly, I've done something very similar in the past, not in my marriage, but in a past relationship, and she looked up the menu for this restaurant. She wanted to see for herself, how on earth could you calculate $60
She's a smart
on
woman.
an entree and one beer? She even found the dish that he ordered, and it should have only cost him around $30. So now she was wondering what he spent the other $30 on. Another meal? Maybe for somebody else? Shanann just knew in her gut, and she could not shake the feeling that Chris was having an affair.
We'll be right back after these messages.
To Chris. She planned to give this letter to Chris when she got back to Colorado the following day. The letter read, My dearest Chris, I don't know where to begin. I am so lost for words. I can't even explain how hard this pain is. The last 5 weeks have been the hardest. I missed everything about you. I missed your morning breath, your touch, your lips, your kisses. I missed holding you. I missed smelling you in the sheets. I missed talking to you in person. I missed watching you laugh and play with the kids. I love so much about you. I missed seeing you naked and on top of me, making love to me. Oh my God, I missed having you around when I felt alone and upset. I just flat out missed the hell out of you. We haven't been away from each other that long since 2012. I really don't know how we, quote, fell out of compatibility, end quote, or if that is somebody else's words. The only thing that changed this month was everything that was going down with your family. I can't change what happened, but I can try to work things out with you, with them. But there has to be a mutual respect for everyone. I don't want to lose you, ever. I will suck it up and be civil with your family because I love you. But there has to be the same respect on the other end. That is what's right. I can't lose you. I won't lose you without a fight. I will fight for your love. Fight for us. I can't imagine life without you. It scares me to death every day that you go to work or we are apart, flying away. I will do anything for you. For us. This is the hardest thing I have ever gone through, but you are worth it. Just talk to me. Tell me what you need. I love you, baby, with all my heart. Happy anniversary. Love always, Shanann.
This woman was willing to go above and beyond to the corners of the earth for this man. And he said he just fell out of love because of NK. And she wants to sit there and say, was it because of me? Oh, the hell, it wasn't because of you.
Shanann was dropped off at her home around 1:48 a.m. on August 13th. The next day, she had an OBGYN appointment scheduled and also a really important business call that had been set up. So Nichol, the friend who had dropped Shanann off in the middle of the night after their work trip, texted her on the morning of August 13th. She was asking her if she wanted somebody to take her to that appointment. Nichol knew what Shanann was going through with Chris, and she also knew that Shanann had been feeling pretty sick during her pregnancy. There were also a few days in North Carolina where she was feeling really, really bad. So Nichol wanted to be there for Shanann. She wanted to be a good friend for her. But hours went by and Shanann didn't reply to Nichole's text message. And that was really odd. Shanann's phone was almost always glued by her side, especially because she needed it for work, because she was so active all the time on social media. So Nichol decided to talk to a few of her and Shanann's mutual friends. But none of them had heard from her at all that morning. So they all had this gut feeling that something just wasn't right, something was wrong here. So Nichol decided to drive by Shanann's doctor's office, and she found out that Shanann never even made it to her appointment. She also had missed that business call that she had scheduled. Now, Shanann was known to be very organized, always would hit her deadlines, just very thorough with everything. So she definitely wouldn't just skip a doctor's appointment or an important business meeting phone call. So Nichol decided to drive to Shanann's house to check on her. When she got there, she started peeking through the garage window, and when she did, she saw that Shanann's car was still parked inside of the garage.
Flip-flops.
So she went to the front door. She started knocking, but nobody answered. Now, Nichol also knew the code that unlocked the front door, so she punched it in. She was trying to get some answers. She was trying to figure out what was going on with her friend.
But it was locked.
However, when she tried to open the door once she got it unlocked, she found that it was locked with a latch from the inside, like one of those, privacy latches that they have on apartments and hotel doors. So Nichol, through the little gap, was yelling out for Shanann, but the house was completely silent. She could see that Shanann's black flip-flops were still by the front door, though, and this was yet another huge red flag to Nichol, because those flip-flops were basically the only shoes that Shanann ever wore. If she had left the house that morning, she certainly would have been wearing them. So now you have Shanann's car and shoes still at the house. She had missed that business.
She was wearing those flip-flops when she came home from the airport.
This call, also a very important doctor's appointment. The red flags were adding up. So Nichol decided to text Chris and ask him where Shanann was. Now, Chris was at work at the time, but he said Shanann had told him that she was going over to a friend's house with the kids that day, because according to Chris, they had talked about divorce earlier that morning. He said that it was really upsetting for Shanann and that she just wanted a little bit of space to think, be by herself, take the kids out, and just, kind of reset from that conversation. But coincidentally, what Chris didn't know is he couldn't remember which friend's house Shanann was going to. And Nichol, at this point, remember, she had already talked to a whole bunch of Shanann's friends, and none of them had seen her, heard from her, hadn't seen the girls, nothing. So Nichol told Chris, no, I've talked to the friends. I'm really worried. Nobody knows where she is. So he said he was going to leave work, he was going to drive home, and he would meet her at the house. But being the stellar friend that Nichol was, she was just relentless, which good on her. With everything else that had been happening in Shanann's life lately, Nichol didn't feel good about this situation at all. So at around 1:30 p.m., she called the police. She explained the situation and she asked if they could
and Chris told Nichol, please do not call the cops, and she still did it anyways.
Come to Shanann's house and do a welfare check on her.
How you guys doing? What's that?
Do you remember me?
Yeah.
Hey, man.
How you been?
Hi.
You Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. What's going on?
So my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
All right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9. And I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls. And she was very distraught over the weekend, wasn't eating normally or drinking. And we kept trying to force it on her because she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. He disclosed that to me today.
Okay.
Because I called him and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann since she left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are right in the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in his work truck.
Okay. That's what I'm asking. There's not a...
She took the girls and went on a play date, but they're 4 and 2. She went on a play date. Why wouldn't she take in a car? They're both in car seats. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and she didn't go to the doctor's appointment.
Okay. No answer on the phone. Husband's on his way.
Because Nichol actually went to the doctor's place and said, I know you can't give me any information when it comes to her doctor's appointment, but can you tell me, did she come or did she make it to her appointment? They said no.
Supposedly, but he said that 30 minutes ago when I called him again, and he said he was 45 minutes out still. And I know the code to the door.
You do?
I do, but there's a thing on it. There's a... No, it'll...
The latch.
They have the thing flipped up here.
Oh. What about the garage door?
I don't
Is
know.
there... do you mind calling him and seeing if we can get a passcode to this and get me permission to go in?
Okay.
I'm just gonna check the back, see if I can see anything.
When the police arrived, they tried to explain to Nichol why Shanann maybe wasn't home or answering her phone. Maybe her phone had died, maybe a friend picked her up in a different car, all of these other things that could explain it. Maybe it wasn't foul play, maybe it was nothing suspicious. And then the officer talked to a neighbor who said that he did see Chris earlier that morning, but he didn't see Shanann. Now, in the meantime, Nichol was on the phone with Shanann's mom, Sandy, because earlier that morning, Chris had told Sandy that Shanann went to a friend's house with the girls, similar to what he had told Nichol. So now Sandy was obviously concerned that nobody could get a hold of Shanann. She wanted to know what the heck was going on here. And while all of this was going on, the police officer couldn't just go inside and see if Shanann was inside for himself. He didn't have a warrant. Chris hadn't gotten home yet, so he hadn't received permission to go inside the house. But then finally, Nichol gave the officer Chris's phone number, and the officer called Chris. Chris answered and told a really similar story to what he had told everybody else. Shanann took the girls, went to a friend's house. He also said that he was 5 minutes away. But here's the thing. Chris had been talking to Nichol all day, and he had also told her that he was 5 minutes away twice. In fact, he had said that he was 5 minutes away 45 minutes before that. But finally, Chris did arrive. And instead of going into the house, he opened up the garage door and he started looking through Shanann's car. When he was doing that, Nichol noticed that the 2 girls' car seats were still inside the car. And she called this out as very odd because Shanann wouldn't have left these car seats behind even if a friend came and picked her up. She would need to put the car seats in her friend's car, right?
Yep.
So this was weird. Something wasn't making sense here. Then when Chris finally went inside...
Because NA foiled their plan.
He didn't start calling out Shanann's name. He didn't call out for Cece or Bella either. Instead, he closed the door so that nobody could follow him in from the garage.
And he went to the basement.
About a minute later, he opened up the front door and finally let the officer and Nichol inside. They searched the house room by room, with Chris trying to really act concerned, but honestly not doing a very good job at that. He even pointed out that the blankies that the 2 girls slept with were gone. They also found that Shanann had left a lot of her personal belongings behind.
She left everything.
Any friends she would be hanging out with? I know. I guess her parents are out of state.
Across country, North Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's not happening. She can play with it. All the girls' blankies are gone. Their blankets they sleep with, they don't leave anywhere without them.
Good. Nothing else appears to be missing though, just
No.
stuff you'd take for a quick trip. She tell you anything about leaving, moving out?
Not moving out. I mean, the last time I talked to her was this morning. She said she was going to take the kids to a friend's house, and that's where she was going to be. And then I've texted her today. I've never heard anything. But the car's here.
Right.
Here.
Yeah, because you
Unless
murdered
somebody
her.
picked her up.
Idiot.
But the people that I know, nobody's heard from her. Nobody's seen her.
Right.
Then a neighbor came by and asked Chris and the police officer to come over to his house. He had security cameras set up all around his house, all around the perimeter, some of which were pointed directly at the Watts driveway. So hopefully they could use that footage to figure out where Shanann was, who she left with, what time she left, start building a timeline. Now, up until this moment, Chris had been unusually calm, especially for a guy whose whole family was basically missing at this
And then the security camera comes.
point. However, while everybody was watching this footage play from the neighbor's house, Chris became antsy. He was putting his hands on his head, he was fidgeting, he was talking nonstop, he was scrolling on his phone, he was looking very nervous. And right there in the neighbor's security footage, it showed that around 5:17 a.m., Chris's truck backed into the driveway, and he loaded something in the back seat.
never
Then
did.
he left, and nothing.
But again, I've watched that tape non-stop, and I can't see where he might be carrying her out at all. You see none of that.
Else was caught on camera. No Shanann, no little girls, no other cars, nothing. Now, around this time, another police officer showed up at Chris's house, and Chris had left his neighbor's house to then go meet this other officer. So when he did, the neighbor pulled this cop aside in his house and kind of said, hey, something's not right here. Chris is acting really weird. He's never acted like this before. I know him well. Something is up here.
He never talks. So the fact that he's over here blabbing his mouth makes me kind of suspicious.
Yeah, but I mean, put yourself in his situation.
I guarantee these two, they talked once the police officer was gone. He's probably like, I know it's Chris.
I agree.
So hours went by with no sign of Shanann and no sign of the girls. The next day, Shanann, Bella, and Cece were officially declared as missing. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation and the FBI joined the search for them. People were handing out flyers, they were conducting searches, and Chris, he took to the media in a very now infamous interview, and he was pleading for his family's safe return.
What's going on right now around your house?
I remember this interview so much, and I could just look into his eyes right when I was sitting on the couch. I'm like, this guy did it.
Right now, it's got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they
I'd be
can
out
get
there
a scent,
looking for my kids.
see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now, it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened?
Plus, I couldn't help but notice he's got this scar, hickey, whatever it might be, but he's got this right here.
Tell me what's...
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nichol showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say but she never got back to me. But she wasn't getting back to any of her people as well, and that's what really concerned a lot of people. Is like, if she's not getting back to her, like if she doesn't get back to me, that's fine. Like she gets busy during the day, but she didn't get back to her people, which was very concerning. And Nichol called me when she was at the door, and that's when I came home. And then walked in the house, and nothing was vanished. Nothing was here. I mean, she wasn't here. The kids weren't here.
All their stuff was.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann, Shanann.
What's your kids?
Bella and Celeste.
How do you spell Celeste?
Celeste.
How old are your daughters?
4, and Bella's 4, Celeste is 3.
And so, how many times?
He said was, right?
I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, what's going on? Like because after I called her and texted her once, it's like, maybe she was just busy. Like she just got back, you know, like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona, and I figured she was just busy. But when her friend showed up, that's what it was like. It registered like, all right, this isn't right.
It registered, oh crap, because you wanted to do a different story, and Nichol Kessinger came and pretty much foiled their plan at anything, pretty much.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there.
I buried
like,
them.
I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like if they're not safe, last night I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over.
No, you didn't. You loved being a bachelor. You loved talking to Nichol. You're full of crap.
By the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me, but it didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here.
I'm gonna ask some kind of tough questions about your relationship with your kids.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are my life. I mean, those smiles light up my life. And it's like, I mean, last night, like during when they usually eat dinner, it was just like I missed them. Like, I mean, I missed telling them, hey, you got to eat that, or you're not gonna get your dessert, you know, and just like you're not gonna get your snack after. I miss that. Like I miss them, you know, cuddle up on their couches. They have like a Minnie Mouse couch and a Sophia couch that they cuddle up on and watch, you know, Bubble Guppies or something. And it was just like, you know, it was tearing me apart last night, and I needed that. I needed that last night, and for nobody to be here last night and to go into their rooms and know that I wasn't going to turn the rain machines on, and I know that I wasn't going to turn their monitor on, and know I wasn't going to kiss them to bed tonight. It was that's why last night was just horrible. I couldn't do it.
That's why you're smiling?
I want everybody to just come home. Like wherever they're at, come home. That's what I want.
They're in the ground and in tanks because you put them there. He does this a lot.
Where was she gone for? She was on. She came back Sunday. You said that to at night.
Yeah, because her flight got delayed from Arizona because of like other storms around the nation. So she's supposed to get home at like 11. She got home at like 1:48. She got in bed about 2.
What was she going for? Like family trip or what?
It was a Thrive direct sales. It was a local event that was down there between a bunch of leaders in the company.
And
whoever those dogs are, shut them up. Holy cow.
That day she was back,
I left work early that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like she barely gotten into bed pretty much.
You know, this might be a tough question, but did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like somebody has to come forward.
You spoken to her family, like her parents?
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like every hour. I mean, everybody back in North Carolina and the East Coast. I mean, from Maine to Florida.
What is her parents saying to you?
They're just like if they need to get on a flight, just let them know. Because I mean, they feel helpless right now because they're on the opposite side of the country. I mean, Colorado is. I mean, you can't just drive around and look. I mean, it's just like. You wouldn't really know what you're looking for. That's what the cops pretty much told me. That first day, I was like, I want to get out and drive around. They said, you wouldn't know what to look for.
Last couple questions. What is law enforcement? What have the police or the sheriffs or your neighbors? What's police saying to you?
Right now, what they're doing right now is with the canines in the sense. I think this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing they've done so far because yesterday Frederick Police Department did all the searching of the house and tried to gather whatever information they could. And with the detectives, officers, and sergeants, and today it's I mean, obviously with all the activity that's around, it's there's a lot going on around here, and I really hope that all this can lead to something.
I can't listen to this guy anymore.
Your neighbors, did they see anything? Did your neighbors see anything?
No, like we've
Betty saw a lot.
Police department went door to door asking, like, cameras and everything, just like nothing.
And my last question, if you have any of them, feel free to step in. My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
Now, the reason I say that this interview is now infamous is because it is used as a comparison interview to so many missing persons and murder cases. Almost any time a spouse now gives an interview, if they look even at the tiniest bit of suspicious, everybody will say, almost verbatim, you can probably say it before I even say it right now, he's given Chris Watts vibes.
Yep.
Because in this interview, he's like swaying back and forth.
They did the same thing with Madeline Soto's mom, Jenny. She did the same thing. She swayed. She had her arms crossed. She said was like past tense, like they used to be here. I mean...
He's just looking dead in the camera. He has his arms crossed. And so we've actually seen that body language and that behavior in quite a few interviews, as a matter of fact, post Chris Watts. The one that comes...
You know who else does that same crap? NK.
To mind the most is Trezell and Jackie West. They were from Bakersfield, California. They had 2 little boys that went missing. And that interview, people were calling out the red flags like from the jump. And so after this interview was given, people did identify it as suspicious right away, and they started noticing his body language. But now it is an interview that is constantly referenced all over the place in all sorts of different cases. And so not only was the public calling this out as suspicious, the police thought that it was a little bit weird too. So that's when they decided to pull Chris in for his first official interrogation. This was on August 14th, one day after the disappearance.
What do you think happened?
At first, I really thought maybe she was just at somebody's house, just decompressing.
Exploring off steam.
Yeah. But after today, like with the onslaught of all the cars, all the police cars, all the news, all the canine units, it's making me lean the other direction about someone took her.
Okay.
But it's just, if someone took her, it would have to have been someone she knew. Because there's no sign of anything.
This detective is not buying this.
Like being disturbed, broken.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the way I'm leaning now. At first I thought for real she was just decompressing somewhere. I thought she was safe.
Mm-hmm.
Even though everything in the house was left there. But now it's just after the day with the news crews and everything, it feels more the other direction. And it's freaking me out.
Is
I
it?
have no idea where they are.
Is it?
And this is like, that's what's driving me nuts. Like, when I told the news crew, like, if she's out there, like, just come home. Like, if someone has her, or like, not just has her, but she's at somebody's house and she's just decompressing, it's time to come back. Because now this is real.
Okay.
This has gone to a different level.
Absolutely. Okay. Do you have an inkling of if it's good or bad?
Yesterday, I would have thought that she was safe and it was good that she would come home. Today, it's
That's
more
not what he asked you.
I don't think that she would let it get this far if she was just decompressing somewhere. I mean, she's not talking to anybody. I don't feel like the love we have is there anymore.
Okay.
And it's just like, I don't feel like, if we want to stay together for the kids, I'm not sure if that's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bringing
That's
another...
what you told him?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, having another baby, bringing us into this relationship, do you think this is going to work
Mm-hmm.
with us being together? Or separation, I think, is going to be the best possible route for us. And that's when, like, all the crying and everything proceeded. And it was very hard just to talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to do it face to face.
Okay.
And I needed to see her face, like, while I did it. I couldn't text, phone, whatever. I needed to be face to face and be able to see her and know that she was going to be at least reciprocating.
You can't be face to face because you buried her in a shallow grave, you idiot.
Back to me.
Oh, what did she say?
She said that it was, I mean, it was, she wanted to kind of work on it, but
you didn't.
If that's the way I was feeling, then she respects that.
Okay.
And she said that most of the time when you have kids and you have a relationship where people, like, they don't love each other anymore, they fall out of love, this connection, that having a kid, even bringing a new baby into the equation, doesn't always work as well as keeping.
He gave a presentation on this. It's supposed to work. That's what he said.
Like, the couple happy and the kids happy. It's like, it almost is like better if two are on the different sides.
Yeah, you don't want to spend your whole marriage disliking each other and faking it for the kids.
Yes, that's one thing.
Okay. Is that accurate? I don't want
that's totally accurate.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want to be the people parading around with like a mask on when the kids are around, and then when the kids go to sleep, you just go your separate ways.
Okay.
It's like, that's what I don't want.
And at about an hour into the interview, the detective told Chris that he looked suspicious.
He's got
I
two
mean,
Chris's.
She and the girls just happened to disappear the same day that he said he wanted to separate. When does that ever happen?
Can we talk about something that's kind of hard to talk about? So when I work investigations like this, I have to keep an open mind on everything. Okay. And part of keeping an open mind is listening to you talk about your wife and your marriage, and the day she goes missing is the day that you guys have marital discord. Okay? So you can understand what I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Makes me sick to my stomach, honestly. Like, I know, like, I've talked to a few of my friends, is like, this does not look good on you. I'm like, I know. It's like, if people knew that we were having marital issues, they're gonna look at me, especially with the way everything looks.
No.
And it honestly just makes me sick to my stomach, because this is something that I would never do. Ever. I know, like, you have to look at every vantage point. This is something I would never do to my kids or my wife at all. I'm not sure, like,
if anybody buys this, you are on a next level of weird.
What I could do to make people believe that, just because if they knew we were having marital discord, they would automatically look at me. But I would harm anybody in my family at all. And I know we were having marital discord, and we had that conversation that morning, and then she goes, we have no idea where she is, or the kids. I promise you that I had nothing to do with any of that.
Are you telling me the truth?
I am telling you the absolute truth.
As he
Why
laughs.
should I believe you?
Because I am a very trustworthy person, and the people that do know me, they know how I'm a calm person. I am not an argumentative person. I am a person who is...
He talks about himself like, I'm this great guy, I'm this person, I'm trustworthy, I do the right thing. And Nichol said the exact same thing. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave it right there. If you guys want part 2, let me know down in the comments below. I would surely love to hear you guys' partake on this case of what we've seen so far. There is another hour that we can watch, but I want you guys to tell me down in the comments, #part 2. Again, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys go over to Annie Elise 10 to Life. Go give her some love. Subscribe, comment, like, and share. Go to her podcast. Listen to that. If you guys like driving home and listening to that, I highly suggest you do that. We'll see you guys in the next video. Please take care. Be safe. And as always, keep nerding on. And we'll see you guys in the next video.